This is the little medieval borgo or fortified hamlet of Montefioralle, and it rises just above the market town of Greve in Chianti. Now, Montefioralle, like all the settlements in Chianti, grew up around what was originally a castle, built for defensive reasons, of course, on the hill crests across Chianti to act really as a chain of defence systems all over Chianti to protect this rich and fertile land. In fact, the original name of Montefioralle was Montefioralle, the hill of fig trees. So we should imagine the slopes were planted with fig trees when this settlement was established. The first record that we have of Montefioralle was from 1085, and indeed it is in that turning point of the first millennium that we see the growth of many of these defensive structures across Chianti. Many of them are from the 11th century. And then around that original castle grew settlement, and even today it is very, very much still like a medieval hill settlement. As you can see, it's surrounded by lush plantings of vines. Vines have been cultivated here in Chianti certainly since ancient Etruscan times. Indeed, excavations have found Etruscan grape pips that date back to around the 3rd, 4th centuries BC. So there's a long tradition of winemaking in Chianti. And indeed, the Etruscan heritage is felt everywhere, really, in Chianti. Indeed, the very name of the area, Chianti, comes from an Etruscan word, clanthe, probably meaning water. Well, you can tell from the great tower that's been brought down in height and by the defensive walls just behind me that Montefioralle was conceived in the 11th century as a fortress located in a very strategic position at the meeting point of several river valleys, the valleys of the river Elsa, Pesa, Greve, and the river valley of the Arno River. So this really was in a very strategic point. And hence it was fortified all round. This is one of 3 gateways into the medieval borgo. A borgo is a fortified settlement, small hamlet. Still today, actually, locals call Montefioralle il castello, the castle, because it has this castle-like quality. And you can see it's built in robust stone, lovely golden stone, very typical of this area. And you can see today those bloody, violent times of the 11th, 12th centuries in Chianti are thankfully a distant memory, and everything here is beautifully decorated with flowers. And this is the view that you get from Montefioralle, the view of lush Chianti hills. So the little hamlet gives you a taste of what medieval life was like in the Chianti hills. Today, it's quite a lively place in certain times of the year. For instance, there's a wine festival in September. There's the Montefioralle Festival of Frittelle, which are sort of fried fritters. So it's a bit of a gourmand's paradise. And it's just above the very delightful market town of Greve in Chianti. So we can wander on down now to Greve. I've come to this particular vantage point because it was just literally here at the top of this hill that we have the first fixed settlements in Greve in the form of a convent, the convent of San Francesco. So it was in a somewhat elevated position. And then later, the buildings, the town that you see below me developed. Greve actually developed as a market town. And the intention was that the supplies from the market would feed and take provisions to all the hill towns in the area. So Montefioralle up here would have got its provisions from the market. The various castles dotted around the Chianti hills would have got their provisions from the market, etc. So initially this really was a market area. But gradually over the centuries, particularly from the 17th century onwards, it grows into a prosperous market town. town. And so, unlike the other Chianti towns that were typically built up on hilltops for defensive reasons, then Greve lies down in the valley, and it's very, very close to the little river Greve, which runs just outside this piazza. This is Piazza Matteotti, which is the central piazza of Greve. And as you can see, it still is very much a market square. Today we have a beautiful flower market celebrating early May, and all the flowers are in bloom. But every week there's a farmer's market with fruits and vegetables and other fresh produce. And there are artisan markets, bric-a-brac markets and so on. So even today it continues its original function as a market area. And the shape of the piazza, you can see it's a rather sort of distinctive funnel shape. It narrows as it goes down towards the church there, and it opens up here. And this shape was very functional indeed for markets. The piazza is dominated by the bronze statue that you can see here. This commemorates a rather famous local boy. He is Giovanni da Verrazzano. And Verrazzano became a great explorer, notably known for charting the east coast of America around New York Bay. And the family, the Verrazzano family, had property around here. Still to this day there is the castle of Verrazzano, where it's speculated that possibly Giovanni da Verrazzano was born. And so this monument is to Greve's most famous personage. And just over the other side of the piazza from the statue of Giovanni da Verrazzano, you can see this more contemporary work by the Polish sculptor Igor Mitoraj. It was installed here in 2002 next to the town hall. And it's a beautiful work that references ancient Greek sculptural traditions, of course, notably in the use of bronze. Also, you can see that it is a fragment of a torso, the so-called winged torso. Mitoraj drawing very much, therefore, on ideals of classical beauty, but at the same time the fact that these things are fragile and ultimately all things decay. So it's a rather nice touch of contemporary sculpture in Greve. Under the beautiful arcades of Greve in Chianti, there is the historic butcher Falorni, and no fewer than 9 generations of the Falorni family have been butchers here, going right back to 1806. Indeed, you can see this very handsome butcher's block has seen many, many years of cutting up meat. It goes all the way back to the 1780s, would you believe, now used as a rather handsome dining table. Inside you can see it's kind of like an art gallery of ham and cheese. They're all hung on the walls and displayed. You can see they have a wonderful collection here of cheeses, a lot of pecorino cheeses that are treated in different ways. Some of them are stored in grottos, in effect, to take on the moist atmosphere. Others are wrapped in straw. Others are then injected with truffle, or you can see peperoncino, the little chili peppers that are mixed into the cheese there. And then you can see these splendid rows and rows of seasoned pecorino here. And again, this is absolutely typical of Chianti. So just at the top end of the piazza in Greve, near the church, the church actually goes back to the mid-14th century, but you get a good view here of the porticos that really characterise this town and other market towns in Chianti as well. So obviously under the arches you're protected from the rain, and above there are very picturesque terraces that are filled with flower pots and give you a lovely vantage point if you happen to have one of the houses here over the piazza. If we take a wander on down the porticos, you can see they are lined with all the things that you need for la dolce vita: cafes, bars, restaurants, stores, little artisan stores as well. And just here one of my favourite restaurants in Greve, La Bottega del Moro, so perhaps we can finish with a glass of wine together. Well, we can't come to Chianti and not talk about Chianti wine, of course. And indeed, this is the traditional fiaschetto, that's to say, the traditional Chianti flask. These bottles, which are really now a symbol of Chianti, I would say, go right the way back to certainly the medieval period. They're shaped like this with a rather bulbous bottom and wrapped in grasses that were collected from around the rivers of the Arno and the Elsa, the rivers that run through these fertile hills. And of course, this covering protects what were rather fragile glass bottles originally. Indeed, there's a rather lovely touch in a fresco by Giotto in the Scrovegni Chapel in Padua. And Giotto paints Joseph, together with Mary, of course, on the flight to Egypt. And Joseph has tucked away a Chianti fiaschetto, a nice bit of Chianti wine to accompany him on the flight to Egypt with Mary. So you can see how far back the Chianti flask goes, right back to the 14th century, certainly. Well, I thought it might be nice to sample a local wine. This wine is actually made by my neighbour. It's called Convertoie, and it's a very fine example of Chianti made with around 80% Sangiovese grape, and then a secret blend for the rest of the 20%, so my neighbour says anyway. So with that, I'll wish you all the very best and chin chin.